Heyo! This is KG Literature Club. Welcome back! As you can tell, the topic of today's video is Stephen King. I had a Stephen King phase like a year ago, and it wasn't that long because I only read 7 books, which I will talk about today, or 6. It's 7 or 6. I'll get into that later. And I'll discuss each one, and then there's also this one that I haven't read. This right here. I'll talk about it later too. The books that I did read, they're quite known, I would say, but they're not the most popular ones, if you know what I mean. So we're gonna talk about them. I do like them very much regardless. They're some of my favorite books that I've ever read in my life. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I just googled this now, but my boy Stephen King has published 61 novels and 6 non-fiction books. That's a lot of books, bro. So okay, I actually sat down and counted the books that I've read, and it's just 5. But regardless, I organized them into a little top 5 list, so enjoy! Okay, so End of Watch was a little tough for me to read because I read it in Spanish, and let me tell you, Spanish translations of English books are a little flimsy, at least in my opinion. But as for the plot, End of Watch has some detective action going on in it. And basically there is this detective, he has cancer. I don't remember why that's relevant to the plot, but regardless. And he's out here trying to solve why a bunch of people are basically committing suicide. The book is pretty straightforward. I don't remember it having any plot twists, at least any major plot twists, which is why I found it a little boring. This book is very recent though. It was published in 2016, and this might be one of the reasons why I didn't like it. But I'll get into that later. I'd give this book a solid 5 out of 10, which is not the best rating, but it's not the worst, you know? It's a decent book. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I mean, if you're into detective stuff, then maybe yeah. But not my type of book, you know? Christine was an interesting book, to be quite honest. First of all, when I read the synopsis, I got a completely different idea of what the book is going to be about. What I thought was going to happen is that this guy is seduced by a lady named Christine. So this was the reason why I picked up the book, right? But the catch is that Christine is a car. That's right, an actual vroom that basically takes control over a teen and manipulates him throughout the whole book. Despite how weird this whole idea is, I actually enjoyed the book a lot. It is very gruesome, but that just kind of adds on to the tension of the plot, so I can't really complain about it. 7 out of 10. I picked up Insomnia at the bookstore thinking that it will be some novel about the dark sides of the human mind when one is sleep deprived. Was I wrong? Not entirely, but the book really takes Insomnia to a whole other level. From what I've read online, it's horror and fantasy. Starts out very normal, old man can't sleep, but next thing you know, he's trying to save the universe, finding gnomes, and flying airplanes. You would think that this is a spoiler, but if you were to actually read the book, there's so much more to it, so this spoiler just kind of fades into the background. The book has somewhat of a bittersweet ending, which had me crying, but it's satisfying in a way. I'd give this book an 8.5 out of 10, maybe. It's a good book. I actually recommend this one. It's really good. The Green Mile was the first book by Stephen King that I read, and it was so good. You have to believe me on this one. And basically there is this man, Paul. His job is to walk people from their prison cell right into the electric chair. Kind of dark and spooky, I guess. But this one guy, big scary guy, is sentenced to death for murdering 2 little girls. And so the story basically revolves around that. The story was well balanced. It had great tension and a very good plot twist. There was a very good balance between the characters I liked and the characters I hated. So that gets bonus points for me. I'll rate it 9 out of 10 just because this book is actually really good, you know? 11/22/63 is by far one of my favorite books that I've ever read. It is very lengthy, a good 850 pages, so it takes a while to read, but I enjoyed every single page of that book. This book is about time travel. Jake, a high school teacher, goes back in time to prevent the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Seems simple enough, but the trick is that the past doesn't want to be changed. It resists change at all costs because if history does change... Actually, I'm not gonna tell you that, I'm not gonna finish that sentence because there's no spoilers in this household. So anyway, for this book, 10 out of 10. It's so good. You really get attached to the characters so well, and the plot is just beautiful. I love it. It's great. Now that we're done with the books that I have read, here's my microscopic list of books that I would like to read someday. First is The Shining, and I own a physical copy of The Shining, but it's in Spanish, so I'm a little hesitant when it comes to reading it. And it's a thick book as well. But yeah, I don't know anything about it plot-wise, but I do know that it's one of Stephen King's most famous and admired works, so I'll definitely make sure to read it in the future. And the second book is Cujo. I'm not sure how that's pronounced at all. I might be butchering it completely. But Cujo just seems really funny to me, although the plot is definitely not funny. Anyway, the book is about rabies, and I don't know why, but I really want to read it someday. What I find particularly funny about the book is that I think Stephen King doesn't remember writing it. But yeah, I should really read more of Stephen King's works, and I definitely will. When I do, I'll probably update this list and let you know my rankings. But until then, thanks for watching.